What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolf Brother Mythos Kushmanada from the channel Frost and Fist, and welcome to this Space Wolf Wednesday. And the Space Wolf content I have for you this week is a showcase for a Space Wolves Venerable Dreadnought. Now, this is something I've wanted to add to my army literally since I put my Space Wolves army together, but for the longest time I didn't have the money for a Space Wolves Dreadnought, and of course there was a million other things. You guys know how it is when you're dealing with plastic crack. You know, you want all the things at the same time, right? And I just never made it a priority to get one. However, about a year ago, I got the opportunity to get my hands on a used Venerable Dreadnought for 15 bucks. A guy at my local shop was selling a bunch of used stuff, and he had this Venerable Dreadnought that was, honestly, it was in terrible condition. It was half assembled, it had holes drilled into a bunch of places with magnets coming out where they had attempted to magnetize it so it could be Bjorn and Murderfang and Venerable, and they couldn't get the magnets to stick in, and it was really not well done. And of course, magnets popping out of all these glue holes. There was like lots of dried glue on it, holes all over the place. It was in terrible condition, but I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I can make some hobby magic happen. I mean, 15 bucks, what's to lose? Then I got it home and I found that not only, so I knew about the magnet holes and all that and the glue and how it was not very well assembled, but when I started trying to put it together myself and scraping off glue, one detail that was not told to me, and I found out later, was that a whole arm was missing. Like, there was the side of the Dreadnought's body, and then the fist holding the axe, but no right arm with which to hold the axe up. And of course, I tried eBay for a long time, I tried, you know, Bits Bazaars, and I just could not find a Dreadnought combat arm to stick in place without having to shell out the same amount of money or similar to just buying a whole nother kit. And for the principle of the thing, I decided I refused to do that, so I just shelved it for the longest time. Anyways, a few months ago, I played my brother Atlas, and you guys may have seen a freak showcase of some of his Space Wolf Dreadnoughts that he did for Atlas's commission. And Atlas kicked my butt with some of the Space Wolves Dreadnoughts and showed me how beefy they are. And I've been wanting to use them for a while anyways, but that was the extra get up and go. Hey, let's figure this hobby problem out. And so I did. I went through all my old bits boxes, and I found that while I didn't have any Space Wolves or any Dreadnought arms, what I did have was a Dreadnought multi-melta from one of my buddy's old Blood Angel Dreadnought kits. And it was still new on sprue. He built it with something other than the multi-melta. And I had, of course, a spare Contemptor arm because I went with Wolf Claws on mine, and it had the actual close combat arm that it came with. And so I took that Power Fist, chopped off the Power Fist, glued the axe on, and then of course there was something that needed to attach it to the body, the boxy shoulder. So I sliced off the multi-melta from that and just used that as the Dreadnought shoulder and glued the Contemptor arm to it, but the proportions were a little different. So I tried to give it a dynamic pose, and it turns out there was only two places with the way that the beefy Contemptor slash multi-melta arm, it would only fit in a couple of poses. So the pose I ended up choosing for it, especially being that I couldn't get very many positions where it would look natural, was it holding its axe up over its head like a challenge, you know, a roar of defiance. So I decided to go with that pose, and I was going to rock it. I was going to make it work. I was like, so this looks like he's, you know, like a growl of defiance, right? Having the axe up, you know, cheering victory. So I decided to make that happen in the model. I wanted to tell a story with it. So I wanted to continue a theme. You may see over here where my man Richard hooked me up with my Contemptor Dreadnought's base, and he put some broken towel transport bits on there, as if my Contemptor had just wrecked through some Tau goodness and sent that greater good to the ground, stomping over it, leaping over it kind of pose. And I want to continue that theme of having some dead Tau on my base. And I was looking through my bits box, and I came across an old Ghost Keel alternate helm from an old commission, and I said, oh, we're about to have some dead Tau on the base. So I built up a scene, and you're going to see whenever the Dreadnought comes on the screen for the showcase that my Dreadnought is standing on the rocks, and I've got the Ghost Keel helm down below, and I've got some water effects surrounding it, keeping it submerged. And my little narrative here is that this Dreadnought has just defeated the Ghost Keel, you know, Dreadnought to Ghost Keel, suit to suit combat, and smashed that big old, you know, that really big frost axe, that Fenrisian axe, into the face of this Ghost Keel. I did some damage on the side of the Ghost Keel helm, chopping into it, using a lighter, melting it, because I imagined some of that energy from that power axe would burn into it, so I melted it a little bit with the lighter and then painted it up. And I've got it submerged in some water effects. And my narrative for this is that this Dreadnought has just defeated a Ghost Keel by cleaving into its head with that big old axe, and then tossed the fallen foe into the oceans of Fenris. And with that, that's why you see it sinking there, that Ghost Keel helm barely peeking out of the water. And I think overall, you know, after he tosses his foe in the water, he raises his axe and cheers in triumph. And that's my narrative. That's the effect I wanted to go for. So from a pose of necessity, right? Chopping, cutting, converting, because I wanted to get this Axe Shield Dread on the field, this Blizz Dread. I wanted to field it as part of my army. I had limited posing options, and I decided to turn that into a story. So I hope you guys enjoy the effect as much as I do, because you guys know any little dig I can get at the Tau is always, you know, a win for me. Another thing I want to talk about is the glow effects, the OSL. So Freak has been doing some amazing work on his Primaris stuff with purple glow effects, and that kind of came from a conversation I asked him to help me with. I loved the shield, the way he did glowing runes on Atlas's dreads, and I said I want something a little different. Let's go with some purple glow effects. And I don't have the fine control for the tiny glow like Freak does, so I asked him to help me out with that, and we talked about it, and he made the purple glow happen. So actually, that right there is where the purple glow came from as far as us using it, was the conversation. We've been working on this Dreadnought since November now, and so it's finally done, because I kept changing and changing, you know, changing certain things up about it. But Freak helped me with that purple effect, and he liked the work he did on my Dread, and that has translated over now to his Hellblasters, his Predator, and it looks good on all of his work. So he's definitely made a little signature out of it, and I think I may steal it a little bit going into the future, so thank you, Freak. But between his awesome purple glow effects and the water effects, the pose, the conversion, the narrative, I really hope you guys like what I've done with this Dread as much as I do. I cannot wait to field him in battle. Anyways, let's go take a look at that model and see if you can see where the conversion came into play, and tell me what you think about what I've done with this Dreadnought. beautiful people, Frost and Fish shirts are now available for sale at thenerdlife.com. If you want to help out a brother in the community, Richard over at the Nerd Life, and get your hands on some Frost and Fist gear, then head over to thenerdlife.com and check this brother out. He's also got other great hobby gear and his own Nerd Life apparel. Check him out.